Hey everyone, today we're going to be discussing metal polishing and the products you need to do this. So first off, we need to understand what's happening on the surface as we polish and kind of the art behind it. So polishing is basically smoothing out the surface to the point where light reflects off of it. That's how you get that reflection, or like when you look at it, you see a reflection. That is because the surface is so smoothed out and there's no scratches, no scuffs, and light is able to reflect off of it. So this can be done on most metals: steel, iron, stainless steel, aluminum, copper, brass. You can even do it on plastic as well. Now, to give you a basic outline of how this process works, for example, on a part like this brake pedal, the first step, we're going to remove all these scrapes, scratches, and pits. If you have a part like this caliper mount that has a sand cast finish, all those little dimples will need to be smoothed out. This is typically done with an abrasive wheel or sandpaper. Once you have all these scratches, pits, and casting marks smoothed out, we're going to move on to a polishing wheel. This is commonly made of cotton, and then you combine that with a polishing compound, and that'll remove all of the finer scratches. And you do this in a few different steps, and then it gets you to the point where there's absolutely no scuffs left behind and you have a perfectly reflective shine. Now, the wheel I found that works best for this first step is a flap wheel in 180 grit. It works quickly and doesn't leave behind a ton of deep scratches. Let's get this flap wheel mounted up on the bench grinder. You want to have a flange or a washer on either side of the wheel just to help keep it in place. Now, before you start polishing, you want to clean up as much of the dirt and grime off the part as possible. That dirt will just contaminate the wheels and make the process harder. Then we can just start buffing. So first up, we're gonna smooth out this big scrape on the top of the pedal here. See what the flap wheel will do on that. And when you're buffing, you want to work evenly across the part. Don't spend a whole lot of time in one area. You'll end up with a bit of a low spot. It also helps to change directions too. Now, something that helps to make the flap wheel sand a little smoother is some lubricant, such as WD-40 or Maxima MPPL. Just spray it right on the part. As you can see, we got that scrape all smoothed out, blended in really nicely. Now, while you're on this step, you'll want to smooth out the rest of the scrapes, the pits. You can even take it a step further and smooth out these casting lines as well, and the casting markings. Now, with all the scrapes and scratches smoothed out, we are ready to move on to the polishing stages. So there are 3 different stages here. We have the number 1 wheel that basically removes some of the scratches left behind by the flap wheel, and we combine that with a black compound. Now, this is for aluminum. Steel is a different combination. Then we move on to the number 2, then the 3, and the 3 will really finish it off with that nice reflective shine. And one thing you want to keep in mind when you're polishing, you have to go through each one of these steps. If you skip to the final step, you can't really expect a good shine because all those scratches won't be smoothed out underneath. It's not going to be very reflective. So let's throw the number 1 wheel on the bench grinder and get to work. Now, it is normal for these wheels to shed strings on its first use. It takes a little bit to break them in, about a minute, and they will be pretty broken in. Also helps to apply some compound immediately upon use. That just helps keep those fibers intact. Now, right away, you want to apply compound to the wheel. So hold it on for about 2 to 3 seconds, and then reapply the compound about every minute or 2. just like with the flap wheel, you want to move evenly across the part and also change your direction from time to time too. So the first stage of polishing is done. You can see some of the shine starting to come through. Doesn't quite have that full mirror effect that we're going for, and that's what the last two stages of polishing are for. So the first two steps in this process are very important. You want to sand out every scratch you see. You definitely don't want to move on to steps 3 and 4 unless you have every visible scratch smoothed out, or else those will just show through and won't look too good. Now, a couple little pointers when you are polishing. You want to apply medium to light pressure. Unless you have a deep scratch or pit you want to smooth out, you can use heavy pressure in that situation, but you definitely want to follow that up with some lighter pressure to help smooth that out. And the area you want to be buffing on the wheel as it's spinning is right about here, so 7, 8 o'clock. That'll ensure your part doesn't catch an edge and go flinging. If you're polishing farther up here, you're not getting a lot of leverage on it. Same with down here. So right about here is where you want to be. And to make these wheels last as long as possible, you want to be really careful around sharp edges. So something like right here on the tip, you don't want to buff right into that. You want to be buffing away from those sharp edges. Wheel spinning this way. You want to be buffing away from it and not toward it. It'll catch that, possibly fling the part, and it'll tear up those wheels a lot quicker. And I should have mentioned this earlier, but you really only need to use the flap wheels if your part has deep scratches, pits, or those casting nipples. If your part's new or just in really good shape, you can just skip ahead to the polishing steps. All right, it is time to move on to stage 2 of the polishing. We're going to use the number 2 wheel along with a brown compound. This will remove the scratches left behind from the first stage of polishing and just give it a little bit more reflective shine. Now after stage 2, we can see some shine start to come out, looking pretty sweet. But stage 3 will just take this to a whole nother level. Now if this is a type of project you guys want to tackle yourself, I will have all the stuff I'm using throughout this video linked down below. The wheels, compounds, buffing machine, you name it, I'll have it linked all down below. All right, it is on to stage 3 and the final stage of polishing. Let's see how this turns out. Got the polishing all done. Check out that shine. Got a little bit of compound left behind. It's completely normal. Just grab a soft microfiber towel and give it a wipe down. You want to make sure you're using something really soft that doesn't have any abrasive or any dirt in it. That'll just scratch up that freshly polished look there. Now you can really see that shine start to come out after wiping away the compound and fingerprints. Turned out really good for the most part. Now there was an area here where I didn't completely smooth out a little pit right there. It's not completely flat. It's on the back side of the pedal, so it doesn't really matter that much, but as you're polishing, if you notice that stuff, you can always go back a few steps, smooth it out. That way you have a nice, consistent shine. Now, after all this hard work, you want to keep up on the shine somehow. So you can either just touch it up by hand with a microfiber towel here. using some liquid or a paste type polish. You could just also take the part off the bike and repolish it over here on the machine. Now there's a few different ways to protect the finish after polishing. You can either, like I said, just use a liquid polish, or you can use a nano ceramic as well. That's like a thin, clear coating that goes over the part, and it won't really diminish the shine too much. That'll help keep some of the wear and water spots at bay. So a finish like this is definitely a lot more upkeep than, say, a brush finish. Now, as far as wear and tear goes, I probably wouldn't polish a part that gets a lot of use or is on a bike that you're riding all the time. This stuff does scratch up pretty easily, especially, like a brake pedal. That's probably not a part I would polish up. This is more just a test piece I had laying around. If your boots are rubbing on this thing all the time, it will scratch up pretty quickly. However, if you are working on a bike that's more of a showpiece or something that doesn't get a lot of use, polishing would be a pretty good option for something like that. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys are curious about rust and corrosion on parts like this. So the actual brake pedal is made of aluminum. If you keep it dry and clean, you should have no issues with it corroding. However, the brake tip is just carbon steel, and if you leave that bare, it will rust pretty quick. So there are a few different ways to combat that. You either do a clear coat like a nano ceramic, or if you keep your bike inside in a clean environment, you should have no issues with rust and corrosion. So that is the process of polishing. It can be a lot of fun. You can get some great results out of it, and once you learn the technique, it really isn't too hard. Now, a few things to note. The process is pretty messy. You want to do it outside or in a contained area, and you want to wear some protection as well, some gloves, some glasses, a respirator. You don't want to be breathing this stuff in. It's not good for you. That's very important. And I would just say, have fun, be patient with the process. It does take a little bit of time to learn the technique, but once you get it dialed in, you'll be really glad you spent the time to learn it. So I'd recommend just grabbing a test piece, go through the process a few times. Once you have a good finish, then you can move on to parts that you actually care about. And that pretty much wraps it up. But if you would like to check out the products I use throughout this video, I will have them linked down below. Have them all laid out for you guys to make it easy on you so you know where to get them. But I hope this video helped you guys out, maybe made sense of the process a little bit more, or at the very least just entertained you. So thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Take care.